Gucci Chuck Taylor with the dragon on the side.
Alright, this isn't the silver bullet, you know, keep the music going. Hey everyone, pretty excited to be here. My therapist told me today that I was going to do a really good job, and that's like the most unbiased source I can think of, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. So I was trying to think of how I was going to start my set, and I'm a teacher, so I thought, I'll do an icebreaker, you know, I'll share something about myself that people don't know. And this is something pretty deep, you know, it's like you really have to kind of get to know me to know this about me and just kind of understand who I am. So here goes. I'm kind of short for my age, petite, if you will, because I think that's a cuter term, but it's true, let it sink in, I know it's shocking, but that was kind of my thing, like in middle school and high school. We all had that thing that we got made fun of for, like, or that we were at least self-conscious about. And, you know, for me, it was like every day I'd have someone be like, hey, midget, or like, hey, Oompa Loompa, like really uncreative shit. Every now and then I'd have someone come up and do like the Lollipop Kids dance, which I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due. That one was kind of funny. People always said, like, it'll get better. And, you know, the older I got, like, into my early 20s, now mid-20s, I thought to myself, you know, wow, it has gotten better. People aren't overtly dicks. Like, they don't come up to me and say, like, blatant insults. And then I thought a little bit more, you know, a little harder about it, and I thought, no, people still suck ass. Like, people are still dickheads. And here's why. People still insult you, but A, they don't know they're doing it because they're just ignorant, and B, they do it passively. So I'll give you guys like an example. I will be walking down the street just minding my own business, as you fucking should. So I'll be walking down the street and someone will come up to me and they'll say like, oh my God, you're really short. And I get like kind of taken aback because their tone would suggest that I should be surprised too. like I should just like survey my body and be like, oh my God, like, and just like touch them on the shoulder and be like, thank you for this life-changing moment. Like, I had not been aware of this before, like, you know. And I think it's really indicative of like what our society thinks is appropriate to comment about others, you know, physical appearance and what isn't appropriate. So I just thought it'd be interesting if I kind of like flipped the switch a little bit and, you know, when someone was like, oh my God, you're really short. And I just said something really random and I was like, oh my God, your nose is really large for the proportion of your facial structure. And they were just like, so that's just, I mean, that's just one part of being the oppressed, white, middle-class, female, petite, you know, person that I am. I like this drink stool, by the way. Because no one has used it for sitting, let's be real. As I mentioned, I am a teacher. I teach at the university. I actually teach public speaking, so I thought I would be a lot less like shit my pants scared about this than I actually am. But teaching college-age students is awesome because they're really relatable. You know, you can talk to them about like TV shows or things that are going on in your life, and they can relate to it, and that's awesome. But one thing that kind of sucks is almost the same thing, which is that they can relate to you on levels that you don't want them to be able to relate with you on. Like, for example, very rarely, like maybe like 1, 2, 5 times a week, I will come into class very hungover. Very rarely, very rarely. And I'll blame it on something, like I'll come in, you know, with my eyes bloodshot, I'm like, ugh. Allergies, right? Like, pollen, you know, expecting to buy it when really I was up until 5 a.m. watching Law & Order SVU on Netflix, but I didn't remember a single episode. Or, you know, I'll come in and just like hold my stomach and be like pale in the face because I decided to get Taco Bell or Mary Ann's after I went out, and I'll just be like mentally willing myself to not shit my pants for the next 50 minutes. And I'll come in and I'll be like, it's got to be that bug. It's that 24-hour thing that's going around. It's this whole. It's awful, right? It's terrible. And then you always pray there's like that one hypochondriac in the room who's like, oh my god, my roommate had that last week and she was out of class for like 2 days. You'll be fine. And then I'm like, yes, that is valid. That's a thing that is happening to me. But when you work with college students, that's not how it works. Because here's the thing. When you're hungover, they're fucking hungover too, and maybe even more than you are. So you might say allergies, but they comprehend that and they like give you the eye daggers. And what they're saying, even if they don't vocally say it, is bullshit, tequila. That you look like the devil took a shit on your face. Like that is not, you're not sick. You just drink a lot of pineapple contusions. So don't pretend like you don't feel well for legitimate reasons. And I always worry that this is what they're going to write down on my evaluation forms, you know, when they're talking about like instructor strengths and weaknesses. I always worry that that's what they're going to write about. But they instead will write about things that really surprise me. Like, for example, they'll write down that my tattoos and piercings are really distracting, or that they make me seem unprofessional. And that really bums me out for 2 reasons. Number one is that, you know, this new generation, like the millennials, like whoever the fuck came up with that, they're supposed to be really open-minded and accepting, and like, it doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from, but they still write these things. And number two, probably 40 to 50% of the female students that come into my classroom are wearing leggings that are so tight I can actually see their inner labia. Like if I took a snapshot, I could put it in an anatomy textbook. But I don't judge them for it. I definitely try to keep away from that, you know, below the waist area, because vaginas just scare me in general, which is an entirely different topic. I don't want to see it, but I don't judge them for it. I think those of you out there who have tattoos or piercings or maybe dress alternatively know where I'm coming from when, you know, people judge us as unprofessional or, you know, some sort of bad characteristic or bad personality quality when they should really get to know us. And that's what I always say, is that you should get to know someone before you judge them. Like, if you got to know me, you would know that there are so many truly shitty things about my personality that you could judge me for. And the biggest one that I get from like my friends and my boyfriend is that I'm a terrible drunk. Like if we were kind of like going along the path of learning how to be a good drunk, like I'm still on my tricycle, and I'm not just talking about like your standard, you know, sorority girl, I could be an extra on Jersey Shore, like sloppy drunk. I'm talking about like my friends used to say that at the end of the night I should be followed around by someone playing the theme song to Intervention. Like that's how terrible of a drunk I am. And I'll give you one final example before I close out. I normally, or sometimes, I get so fucked up that my own boyfriend will not want to have sex with me. And the next day I'll wake up and I'll be like, well, what the fuck? Yeah, you know, I want to go to Pound Town. I want to do this. I don't understand. And I'll be like, well, and he'll say this term. And I'll say, well, it was, you know, Sylvia was getting a little bit rapey. And I'll say to myself, I'll be like, you know, because I hate, like, you know, when people try to seem like they're better than me, I'll be like, what the fuck does that mean, rapey? And I'll be like, well, I mean, you couldn't take off your pants, and then when you did, both feet were stuck in one pant leg. And I hate losing an argument, so I would come back with like, well, I was wearing leggings that were halfway up my uterus, so it was hard to take them off, you know? And then I'll be like, all right, well, you couldn't remember my name, and you were crying because I told you Pizza Hut stopped delivering 2 hours ago. At which point I kind of have to concede, and I'll say something like, we will table the topic for future discussion. But one thing I will say is that, you know, getting drunk and binge drinking and consistently drinking, one progressive thing it has done for me is after months of talking to George, it got me the balls to come here and do this. So I will just finish this by saying this was brought to you by Whiskey Sours and Fireball Shots. So, thank you very much.